Hello, everyone. My name is Savannah Lish, and I'm the North Region MakeMo Librarian, a mobile makerspace librarian with LA County Library, and I welcome you to Microsoft Excel for Beginners. Before we get going with today's event, I would like to take care of some housekeeping, do the land acknowledgement, and tell you a little bit about Work Ready. If you can hear me and see the slide up on the screen, then you are good to go. However, if you are having trouble hearing me or the slide, do let me know in the chat, and I will do my best to assist. Um, if you would like to listen to this presentation on the phone, you can do that by calling 1-669-900-6833 and use the access code 874-9512-8762 and passcode 123123. Additionally, automated closed captioning is available on Zoom in case you would like to read along with the presentation. To enable that, you would press the CC button in your Zoom window. It's down at the bottom. You may have noticed that the mics and video are disabled for attendees. That is so everyone can focus on our presenter. We do, however, welcome your questions and comments. Questions should go into the Q&A box down at the bottom, and comments can go into the chat, again, down at the bottom. I would also like to note that this class is being recorded and you will receive a copy of the YouTube link in a follow-up email. The County of Los Angeles, oh, may I get the land acknowledgement slide? Thank you. The County of Los Angeles recognizes that we occupy land originally and still inhabited and cared for by the Tongva, Tataviam, Serrano, Kish, and Chumash peoples. We honor and pay respect to their elders and descendants, past, present, and emerging, as they continue their stewardship of these lands and waters. We acknowledge that settler colonization resulted in land seizure, disease, subjugation, slavery, relocation, broken promises, genocide, and multi-generational trauma. This acknowledgement demonstrates our responsibility and commitment to the truth, healing, and reconciliation, and to elevating the stories, culture, and community of the original inhabitants of Los Angeles County. We are grateful to have the opportunity to live and work on these ancestral lands. We are dedicated to growing and sustaining relationships with Native peoples and local tribal governments, including, in no particular order, the Fernandino Tatavian Band of Mission Indians, Gabrielino Tongva Indians of California Tribal Council, Gabrielino Tongva San Gabriel Band of Mission Indians, Gabrielino Band of Mission Indians, Kish Nation, San Manuel Band of Mission Indians, and San Fernando Band of Mission Indians. To learn more about the First Peoples of Los Angeles County, please visit Los Angeles City County Native American Indian Commission website at lanaic.lacounty.gov. Before we begin, I'd like to mention our next program in our Microsoft Office Workshop series will be Microsoft Excel for Intermediate Users, Tuesday, August 26, 11 a.m. Got the spreadsheet blues? Level up your existing Excel skills by following along as we teach you how to track sales data by region, plan a large project, and build a simple dashboard for adults. If you would like to learn more about our virtual or in-person events, head over to lacountylibrary.org and click the events link at the upper right-hand side. And now, without further ado, let's get into Microsoft Excel for Beginners. And to do that, I would like to introduce our presenter for today, Oleg Kagan, the Community Engagement Coordinator with LA County Library.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to our Microsoft Office workshops, Excel for Beginners. Savannah, thank you very much for that introduction. And to all the folks out there, I welcome you. So, Microsoft Excel, something that I've been using in my work life as well as my personal life, in addition to, of course, Google Sheets as well. It's software that is useful for so many purposes. Hey, Savannah, can you place the link to the registration for the next class in the chat, please?
Yes, I'm doing that right now. Thank you.
Awesome, thank you. Um, so what I will talk about first is get you started at the very beginning. What is spreadsheet? What is Microsoft Excel? And then we're going to go through a beginner course, which you will be able to follow along with today, or we'll also share this program on YouTube and you'll be able to follow along on YouTube. And I will be sharing with you the starter files that I'm starting with so that when you are running through it, we can all start at the same place. So now I'm going to turn off my video so we can all focus on what I'm saying and the screen, and we'll get into what is a spreadsheet. Share with you my screen really fast here. Here we are. We're at a spreadsheet. So at its core, a spreadsheet is a table. It's a grid of cells, which are each of these little rectangles here, containing information divided into columns and rows. So you can see the columns have a listing A, B, C, D, and the rows have numbers. A spreadsheet builds on the functionality of a table by allowing users to further organize, sort, manipulate, and display information to meet their needs. Now you might be thinking, who cares? Why do I need this? What are the purposes of a spreadsheet? Well, there are a few. The first one is organization. Spreadsheets excel, pun intended, with information that lends itself to tabular presentation, such as bookkeeping, tracking household spending, which is an example we'll do today, keeping an inventory log. Really, anytime you need lots of consistent information types to be organized or in order, a spreadsheet or Microsoft Excel can help. The second purpose is planning. Spreadsheets allow users to set up to-do lists, which we'll do today, various types of progress charts, and visual dashboards. One example of this I've seen and done myself a little bit is to use a spreadsheet to keep a workout log. I've done it for running, where I put in the distance I've run and the time, and then the spreadsheet can automatically calculate how many miles per minute or how many minutes per mile, etc. I'm running. And I like to plot that on a progress chart, and I can look at it every time and go, hey, I'm improving. How nice. Another purpose of spreadsheets is tracking and calculation. Formulas create relationships between multiple cells, and I'll talk about formulas later, to do simple tasks like adding or subtracting or more complex tasks such as matching data or summarizing huge amounts of it. But it doesn't have to be huge. For example, a teacher could use Excel for their grade book. It'll do all the adding and averaging of the students' scores for them. Finally, though not limited to, the purposes of a spreadsheet is decision making. All of the above serves as an aid to making personal and professional decisions. For instance, what to do next. And to begin with, we will start with a to-do list. Is everybody with me? Are we all ready to get into Excel? I'm getting some yeses in the chat. I like that. I want to make sure that you're all there with me. And I'll ask throughout to make sure that we're all still, one could say, on the same sheet. All right, let's get into creating a to-do list. So, as I mentioned before, a cell is a fundamental unit of a spreadsheet. It's usually a rectangular box, although you can make them square, uh, that it holds information. That information could be a word, a number, a picture, or even just a color. Each cell is named after the column row coordinates that it represents. So the top leftmost cell, this one here, is A1. The next one over is B1, and so on and so forth. So first of all, the most basic action is, of course, inputting text or information into a cell. You can do that by either clicking on a cell, as I'm doing here, and then typing in a word, or you can double click on a cell. So I double left clicked on the cell and you can see the cursor has appeared here and it's blinking and I can type in another word. And we'll start creating our to-do list now by creating a header row. Spreadsheets don't need to have a header row, and Excel doesn't care if you do or not, but header rows are convenient to help us humans be able to read a table or a spreadsheet more easily. So typically the header row is at the top of a table. It's the head, and we're going to type in to our task list or our to-do list, task, status, and due date. Now, columns and rows can be edited in various ways. The most useful is changing its size. So I happen to know that the tasks are going to be longer than this. So I'm going to move my cursor up here. You see the little double arrow, and I'm going to just click and drag it to make it a little bit bigger. And you can see when I bring that up, Excel creates a helpful little box there that says the width of the column. So I've expanded that. And now I'm going to, you can also move tasks and columns. So let me type in a few tasks first of all. Do laundry, read book about Microsoft Excel, pay water bill. We did a lot of laundry. And let's say go to the library and return book about Excel. All right. Status there is done, not done, not done, and no, it automatically went to not done. Okay, and the due date for do laundry, we got to do that today. So I'm going to type in 8/12/25. Read book about Microsoft Excel. We can spend a little more time on that. So let's say like next week. So I'm going to do August 20, and then let's say pay water bill. That's going to be in a couple of days. So let's do 8/15. And return the library book. That's going to be due. It's going to be on Saturday the 30th. So I'm going to do 30 August. That automatically went to that. All right. So you can also move columns. You can make them bigger. You can make them smaller. You can move them. To move a column, you need to select the entire column. So I want the status column to be at the end of my to-do list. So to move that, we need to select the entire column. We're going to hold the Shift button on our keyboard, and then I'm going to uh, use the left mouse button. Click left mouse button where the little arrows are here. I'm going to put my mouse into and then I'm going to hold and move. You can see the little green line there went all the way, and the status column has moved. All right, in order for our to-do list to be easier to read and a little bit more stylish, we can also edit how the text looks. We do that by selecting the cells we want to change and clicking up in the font area of our ribbon. So this area up here where all these little buttons are is called the ribbon, and it's got all sorts of tabs here at the top, and each tab has different areas. So the font area is the one we are looking at. So we need to select the cells that we want to change. And let's make the header row bold. So I'm going to select these three cells, just highlighting them. I'm going to go up here, click the B, and now they're bold. And it works the same way if you'd like to make the text italicized or underlined. I recommend not going too crazy with the styles because it makes it pretty difficult to read. You can also change the font face or type. We also do that in the font area. Let's go ahead and make the font a little bit bigger so it's easier for all of us to read. So we can do that in the same way by going up here to where it says 11. That's the size of the font right now. We're going to switch it to 13. And you can see that the header row just got a bit bigger. We can do that for the whole entire spreadsheet too. So if you have an entire spreadsheet worth, many rows and columns of information, you can select it all by going up to the left corner, clicking there where this little arrow is, and then going to the font area, 13. I'm going to press enter, and there it is. Now everything is a little bit bigger. We like that. So we got some information in our to-do list. We've got the dates. Notice how some of the text entries are still longer than their column. Excel will automatically either put it over the next column or put it underneath. However, if you select a column, it'll disappear right now because there's text in column B. The text in the task column goes below. All right. Now, a way to overcome this issue is either by doing what we did before, which is by changing the size of the column, or we can do something called word wrapping. And word wrapping is exactly what it sounds like. It'll take the words in the cell of each column and wrap it over to the next line. So let's enable word wrapping on column A. We can do it cell by cell, or we can select the entire column. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to click on where it says A. You see a little down arrow, click on that. And then we're going to go up here where it says wrap text. Click on that. And as you can see, now we can see everything written in our task column or column A. Okay, now what do we have here under status? To me is unsatisfactory because it's hard to sort by done, not done, no, or whatever we want to put. We want it to be somewhat standardized. So let me go ahead and delete that. And let's use a simple but effective built-in option for our status of our tasks, and that is checkboxes. First, we'll navigate over to select, or insert, I should say, in our ribbon, which is a tab that's up here. It's the third tab over. And then in the middle of that, you can see that there is a checkbox. We can insert checkboxes individually, or if we want to work quickly, we can highlight the whole entire range of where we want the text boxes to be and do that. And we click text boxes. So we insert the text boxes. Now, if we toggle the check mark, you can see that in the formula bar, which is up here, it switches to false, true, false, true. And that is because a checkbox is just a formula that's built in, or a function that's built into Excel and makes it easy for us to use and sort by. Now, we don't really want to click on checkboxes over and over again. Sometimes we don't even want to highlight. So there's another way to fill in the checkboxes, and that's by using autofill. As we move forward in our to-do list, uh, we want to be able to autofill this, and we'll do it a different way later. But for now, what we can do is if we have one, we can move our cursor over to the bottom right-hand side of the cell, and you can see the cursor has changed into a plus. We're going to click there, and we're going to drag down. We can drag down as much as we want, actually. And it replicated what was in the very first cell into the other cell. It auto-filled them. And there also, you can see a little box that appears down below. It says autofill options, and we can fill with formatting, with just a copy of what it is, and it'll also do this with numbers as well. Oh, we had a message in the chat. Can the talking be turned off? Do you mean the closed captioning? You just press the little CC and that'll turn off the closed captioning. That way you can see the entire window. So once again, the checkboxes are in the insert and then checkbox under controls here. But there is a more elegant way to input checkboxes into our spreadsheet, and that is by using tables, which I'll be showing you in mere moments. It'll be worth it. But first, you may have noticed a bit of an aesthetic problem here. The format of these dates is just all over the place. And if you're like me, then that really bothers you. Note that Excel is very good at automatically detecting the format of information in a cell, and there are quite a few options. So under where it says in the Home tab under Number, you can see there's many different types of number formats that Excel can use. Some of these, it already automatically detected that it was date. And number formats are important to know about because Excel behaves differently depending on what it thinks is in each cell. It might automatically display information in a specific way or be unable to sort mismatched formats properly. Why don't we fix these dates in order to settle our, or at least my nerves? So let's go ahead and highlight this range of dates and note that the number format automatically switches to date because Excel had decided that they were actually dates, and some of them you may have noticed it switched them automatically when I input them. Let's select short date because it's easy to read and convenient for our purpose of a to-do list. Short date is just month, date, and year. And as you can see, it changes them all automatically. Sometimes if you input a date in some ways, it won't change them, but then you'll know and you can do the change manually. One of the features of spreadsheets and benefits of Excel's number formats is that you can get it to sort ranges for you. For instance, it's most useful to have our to-do list sorted by due date. And that's really easy to do. Let's select the column we want to sort by moving up to the letter of the column and clicking the cursor. It'll start to change to a down arrow. I'm going to click. Then we go over to the ribbon in the editing area, which is over to the right. Editing. So it's home, editing. And then we have a sort and filter selection here. We're going to click on that and we're going to sort oldest to newest. So the things that have been in, that are coming up very soon, or the oldest due dates, are going to be at the very top. I'm going to click on that and we got a little sort warning. And this is actually a really good warning, unlike many warnings that we get in our lives. Excel recognizes that table columns and rows are usually, though not always, related. So in our table here, the tasks and the due dates are related. So it asks us, do we want to just sort this column and leave the first one the same, or do we want to expand our selection and sort the entire table? And typically, we're going to choose expand the selection. We're going to click sort. And as you can see, it sorted our due dates instantly and it kept the tasks and the dates together. One interesting thing to note too is how Excel ignored the header row when it sorted because it realized that the header row was a different format. In this situation, it's general or sometimes it's text. It's a different number format so that it makes the correct assumption that we don't actually need to sort that row. Okay, I mentioned tables above, and that was a useful teaser because tables are one of my favorite features of Excel. So thus far, we've been referring to a set of combined rows and columns in a spreadsheet as a table. But Excel also has a very useful formal way it treats contiguous rows and columns that is called a table. While Excel does recognize relationships between cells and columns normally, designating a specific range as a table makes it distinct and gives it special powers. For instance, sorting becomes a lot easier. Additionally, it'll maintain the number formats in a column, and repeating elements like checkboxes, it'll add those automatically when you add new rows. So in order to switch this range, a range is essentially a contiguous set of columns and rows where you have items input into each of them. A range can also technically be separate, I guess. But how do we convert this to a table? There are two ways. So the first way is we can highlight any part of the range and either hold Control and press T on your keyboard or go to Insert and press Table. We're going to look, Table. It's all the way at the left. It's the third button. So if we press Table, Excel, it's so smart. It can also automatically, you can select either the entire range or for it, or if you select any cell in the table, it'll typically do a really good job of automatically determining where you have the table. So this little create table box came up. This is the range. So you can see among these dollar signs, you have A1, which is this cell here, to C5, which is the one at the bottom. It shows our whole table, these cross-hatched lines. It asks, does your table have columns or headers, I should say? Yes, it does have headers, so very good. We're going to hit OK, and a few things have changed. The header row becomes bold if it wasn't already. Here, the background is highlighted. The color of the rows changes to banded. That means alternating light and dark for easier reading, especially if you have really, really long tables. And each cell in the header row gets its own drop down. I call these little arrows carrots because carrots are delicious and healthy and also convenient for us. So we can click down here and we can sort. So nice. And I'll show you more about how to do that later. There's a lot you can do with our table, but for our purposes, we're going to add a new row. But wait, we need to put checkboxes all the way down, and I'm going to show you something. What's a task that we need to accomplish? Does somebody want to give me an example of a task? Because I've thought of a few and I can think of more, but what's a task that you need to get done today? Oh, oh, that's perfect. Clean litter box. I'm gonna, you know what? I'm gonna input a few. Clean litter box. Yeah, you got to do that today because probably maybe even yesterday. So we put clean litter box, grocery shopping. A few people put grocery shopping. That's always important. And let's do attend acting class. Real talk, I would enjoy doing that as well. Grocery shopping, that was yesterday's task. And acting class, that's going to be in a couple of days. I think that's on Friday. It's 8:50. And now we can do autofill. Let's select two of these and move that down here. I'm actually curious, if we input a whole new cell, will it? Yeah. So if I inserted a new row in the middle here and it gave us the checkbox automatically. Now, what I do want to do is check if this will also do it. Let's see, my task, insert checkbox. So it didn't do it automatically here. Sometimes it does, but for some reason now it's not inserting new checkboxes. But typically, when you use a table, it'll also keep this kind of formatting there for you. All right, insert checkbox. That was today's as well. All right, and one last thing. Let's just sort this by oldest to newest. Grocery shopping. If you haven't done your grocery shopping, the task is overdue. And there you have it, a nice to-do list for you. Next, we're going to move on to creating a ledger that will track our household spending. Before I do that, how's everybody doing? Are you with me? Am I talking too fast, too slow? Right on the mark? We will have some time for Q&A later. So I know Savannah and Julian are very, very appreciatively, I should say, I appreciate their answering some of your questions already in the Q&A, and we'll also have a little time later. I would really enjoy seeing your questions and answering them. All right. It seems like we're mostly doing okay on pace here, and I'm going to continue, maybe slow down just a little bit, because tracking household spending is a little bit more complex than creating a to-do list, but not a whole lot more. So let me exit this. It's going to ask me if I want to save it. I don't really need to save it. I already have my to-do list. Cancel. Don't save. Okay, let's move over to our example ledger. Somebody in the chat said, okay, what's your name? My name is Oleg. Hello. All right. Let is let us go ahead and move on to tracking household spending. This is an example ledger. I will send you this file so that you will be able to use it in case you want to review this program in the future. As I mentioned in our introduction, a fairly traditional use case for spreadsheets is for bookkeeping purposes for both businesses and individuals. Indeed, I would say that spreadsheets are the best type of software for this purpose. In creating our to-do list, you've learned the basics of inputting information into Excel. You've learned how to create tables. Now we're going to extend what you already know by introducing some features to track household spending. As you can see, here is a ledger that I created to use as our example file. You can see that it's already a table. It's got a header row, several columns, date, item, debit, and credit. The date column has these hash marks or hashes, number signs, and the reason that is because our column is not wide enough to encompass some of the dates. We're going to make it a little tiny bit bigger. There we go. Same thing in the credit line. The amount of paycheck for our job as an Excel wizard at Superdata is too much for this column. We're going to make it a little bigger. And there it is. What you may have noticed as well is that we have a useful number type here in the debit and credit columns, and that is the accounting number type. So you can see the items that are in the negatives, the cells that are where the number is in the negatives. It's got parentheses around them. It's got the currency sign. Likewise in the credit, it's got the currency sign and the number. The default currency in Microsoft Excel is the American dollar. There's also a different number type called currency, which is right over here. It's very similar, but it doesn't do this exactly the same things that accounting does, and that's why I included accounting for our ledger. I feel like it just looks a little neater. Now you can see that by default, and this makes sense, the accounting type has two decimals. It has two decimal places, just like most money does. If we only need one decimal place, we can easily change that. And that's both the accounting, the currency, and the number type. And it's very easy to remove decimals. You just select the cell that you want to remove decimals on. We can select two. And right up in the number area, there's two buttons, one that says increase decimal, one that says decrease decimal. Let's decrease by 2. And then Excel will, I believe, round down. And I think you can change that as well. Uh, and so this rounded down to just a whole number, 5 and 6. We're going to increase the decimals once again so that these dollars include all the information that we need. Now we can insert columns and rows as needed into our ledger. Let's say a friend repaid you some money they borrowed and you forgot to put that in before. To insert a row, what we have to do is right click on your mouse where you'd like to put it. So let's put it somewhere over here. Let's say it was on the in June 10th before you went to get your Starbucks or maybe at the coffee shop. Your friend paid you back some money. I'm going to right click on column or on row 11 here, and the drop down has an insert option. I'm going to click insert. I'm going to input the date 6/10/2025. I'm going to put loan repaid from Bob, and that was a credit of $217.04. Bob is very meticulous about paying you back exactly how much you should get paid back. So we input that, and that's there. Now, this spreadsheet, you may have noticed, is of course missing a vital piece of information, namely our total balance. But have no fear and put your calculator down because Excel makes getting this figure no problem at all. Let's start by creating a new row so we can add our starting balance. We're going to do that at the top here. Something to remember when creating new columns or rows is that it inserts, when I say it, Excel inserts columns and rows above or to the right of the ones you've selected. So I'm going to right click here. I'm going to on column or actually row 2. I'm going to insert and get one at the very top. We're going to choose starting balance. We're going to put starting balance so we know what we're talking about. And our starting balance was thankfully in the positives. Let's say it's $4,000. I just input 4,000, and because Excel knew that we were using the accounting number format, it automatically used that one for us. And let's move on by introducing formulas. So formulas are little pieces of mostly simple, but potentially very complicated code that tells Excel what we want to do in a cell besides just inputting information. Within formulas, we often use functions. A function is a predefined formula for common operations that are built into Excel and referred to within the program by a single word. What I just said may have been vocabulary salad, but it will become clear in a mere moment. In order to find our total balance and have it adjust as we input new rows, we'll be using the sum function. Sum does exactly what it sounds like. It adds up the contents of individual cells or a range of cells, so you don't have to. Where should we put our balance? Let's use a feature in tables called a totals row. I'm going to right click anywhere inside the table. It could be this cell, could be this cell, could be this one. I'm going to go to table and I'm going to hit totals row. As you can see at the very bottom, we got a row that appeared. The totals row can do various things automatically. If I click on a cell in the totals row, we get a little drop down. We can get the average. If we've got numbers, we can get the average. We can get a count of the amount of cells that are filled in. If there's numbers in, so we can get the count of the amount of numbers. We can get the highest number, the lowest number. We can get the sum. We can get standard deviations if you're a statistics fan. And we can do various other things. We can use a whole bunch of functions that are automatically built in that will act upon the entire column. What we need to do is create a relatively simple formula. To start a formula, we input an equal sign, either in the cell here, we're going to use this very convenient cell in the totals row, D17. It could be any of them. We could do actually the same thing in any cell in the table. I'm just going to use this one. Or you could put the equal sign in the formula bar, the one at the very top. Oftentimes with simple formulas, you can just input them right into the cell. However, if you're going to have a very complicated formula, which is going to include if-then statements and all kinds of other controls, then what you're going to want to do is put it up here. And we can even make the formula bar bigger if we need to. And I've had to do this before occasionally. You're going to have all this white area filled in. But for us, we're simple people. We're going to just put in the equal sign. Next, we're going to be using the sum function. So we're going to type sum. I Excel defaults to using functions with capital letters. It doesn't actually matter if you use capital letters. I just like the way it looks. So there are many functions that have the letters SUM in them, and you see this drop down. Ours is the very top, and conveniently Excel tells us what it does. Adds all the numbers in a range of cells. In order to tell Excel which cells we want to add up, we need to start with a parenthesis. And once we put in the parenthesis, Excel gives us the format of how it likes this formula or this function to look. So we get one number, second number, and so on and so forth. So the numbers are separated by the numbers we add, or I should say the cells we add. It can do numbers or cells, are separated by commas. What we want to do here is we just want to select the entire debit and credit columns. And we're going to do that by literally selecting them. Because we selected the whole thing, it gave us the, actually, you know what we want to do? Let's make this better. Let's start with 4,000. So we're going to add up 4,000, which is our starting balance. We can select 4,000. And that's in cell D2. It put D2 down here. So if we change the number in D2, it'll also change it automatically in the formula. Next, we're going to put a comma, and we're on to number two. And number two could be an entire range, and we're going to select an entire range. All of this right here. So as you can see, as I'm selecting a range, Excel is changing. The red numbers are changing. There's the first number or the first cell, the top left-hand cell C3, and the bottom right-hand cell D13. We want to continue to expand this all the way to the end here from C3 to D16. And then when we do that, first let me move this back. What I want to do is not just these specific cells. I want to select this whole, do like that. We can also do the entire row and column, but for now, let's just do it like this. So we've got the whole thing. We're going to press enter, and it gave us something that's incorrect. So I think we're missing something. We must be missing. Yeah, we're missing the paycheck. Sometimes you make mistakes and you have to figure out why something's not working correctly. In this case, the fix is very simple. Instead of 15, we need to put D16 and press enter. Voila, we have our balance. We can insert another row here and test out whether this works. Let's do 6/1, 2025. We pay for our acting class on a monthly basis. In the beginning, acting class, the person who teaches it is our friend. They only charge us $10 per class, or 4 classes a month. And there we go. Oh, it should be -40 because it's a debit. There we go. And did it change? I think it changed. Yeah, as you can see, -40, and our total changes. Okay. Now, depending on how you use your spreadsheet, it's also possible to create a running balance, but we're not going to do that today. Instead, we're going to move on to our next item, and that is planning a party. Are we all ready to learn how to plan a party? And once we've planned our party, then we'll have time for our Q&A. Are we all ready to move on? Oh, somebody said they're planning a party currently. I sure hope this is going to be helpful for you. You might start using Excel to plan your parties from here on out. If you do, I would be very gratified. You might also be gratified because your life might become easier. All right, so now I'm going to exit this spreadsheet. I don't need to save it, or they may have saved it automatically. It doesn't matter. All right, so here's our example party planning. Okay, next we're going to go through some elements of planning a party using Excel. Now, it's not the all of the elements of planning a party. You might be a more complicated person than I am. You might feel like I'm too complicated of a person and doing too much. And the people with type A personalities are going to learn what I'm going to teach you now, and I'm going to use this for every party. Everyone else will just use Excel for weddings and large work events. I'm just kidding. Use it for whatever you want. Let's start by having our example file up here, and I'll describe it very quickly. Now, I have 3 sheets in this workbook. So an Excel file is called a workbook. I've got 3 sheets here, guest list, locations, and budget. In the guest list, I have names. I have the number of guests that are coming with each person. I have RSVP status. In locations, I have 5 columns: name, address, price per guest, link, and an image of the location. These locations are not real, but sometimes I wish they were. And then finally, I have a very simple ledger, just like we had used before. So first, I would like to work on this guest list. As you can see, the RSVP statuses started as kind of normal and then fell apart. We want it to be easy to fill out the RSVP status and simple to see who will be at the party and who won't. Excel will not sort know, what, and just a random number. What we're going to do is we're going to create a drop-down menu for this RSVP status column. And creating this is surprisingly easy. Somebody asked me in the chat, how did I exit? You exit an Excel workbook by pressing the close button at the top right-hand side. The initial step to creating a selection for our drop-down menu is to create a little list. And since this is a guest list, our list of options will be yes, no, and undecided. Let's put those in column E. It doesn't really matter where you put it as long as they're not right on top of your original table. So let's go to yes, no, and undecided. All right. Next, we're going to select the area where we want to have the drop-down menu. That's going to be right here, all of this. So I'm going to go ahead and erase these random ones. If I was really doing this, I'd probably copy them over somewhere and then choose our selections. But for now, since this is fake, I'm just going to erase them. I'm going to select this entire column here, or at least this range where we have our guests. We're going to navigate over to the Data tab in our ribbon. It's kind of in the middle. Then we're going to go over Data Tools, which is on the right side. And I'm going to click where is it over here? The data validation button. I call this the yes, no button because it's got a check mark and a stay out of here symbol. I'll click on that. And what data validation does is essentially allows you to determine what kind of inputs a cell can have. If we look at the allow dropdown right here, you can either only allow, for example, a number, a date, or a list of inputs. We're going to select a list because we want our cell to only allow the exact entries that exist in our 3-item list. Got list here. Once list is clicked, it wants me to show it where the list is. So it's where this says source here. I'm going to move this over so we can see our list. I'm going to click to source, and then I can simply highlight where our source is. I can also manually input E6 to E8. It has the dollar signs here because so that these are not going to be relative, so that it'll always focus on E6 and E8, no matter if it changes, or if it changes, it'll go somewhere else. So we've got E6 to E8. This can also come from anywhere in the workbook. So if I want my list to be in locations or budget, I can also do those there and keep those lists. I can even create a whole separate spreadsheet or a whole separate sheet for random lists and formulas and stuff, just to keep them out of sight and keep your spreadsheets clean. I'm going to hit OK. And now you may notice that I have a little drop down here. Now, if I click over here and I want to put boom. Why would I do that? I don't know. Whoa, Excel gave me an error. This value doesn't match the data validation restrictions defined for these cells. What are those data validation restrictions? We're restricted to only yes, no, and undecided. How can we tell? We've got a drop down. Yes, no, and undecided. Let's fill in some of these. No, yes, yes, undecided. I'm going to go real fast. Some of these are going to be no's. These are going to be yeses. And down here, undecided. And Sophia said she can come, so I'm going to say yes. Somebody asked in the chat, does the library give free online class for Excel? Yes, we do. This is one of them, but we also have other options, which I will teach you about in the future, particularly in the follow-up email. Okay, so we've created our drop-down menu, but what if other people are using this spreadsheet and we don't want them to mess with our list? It might be a good idea in that situation to put the stuff like our lists out of sight. You can put it in a different sheet, or you can use a feature called hiding a column, which is very easy to do. We simply right-click on the column we want to hide all the way at the top, select the entire column, and click hide. It's gone. The column is now out of sight, but you can see that there's something there between D and F. Even if you click off, you can see that there's something there between D and F. That's a hidden column. So don't put secrets there because people who use Excel will know that there's something there. To unhide it, you right-click between those columns and press unhide. Oh, wrong one there. You need to select exactly between those. Unhide. There it goes. And it's back. Now we want to keep it hidden because we want a neat sheet. So I'm going to hide it again. And now it's gone, but our RSVP statuses remain the same. Let's move over to our locations. You may have noticed that a bunch of stuff is already filled in here, but if other people were using this with you, or maybe with you, you might want to put hyperlinks so that we can go to the website of the Silver Platter Lounge, a fictitious location, the USS Enterprise, one that I hope would be real, and the Winnebago Bowling Alley. So I'm going to teach you how to insert hyperlinks. We're now getting towards the end of our class. We've got a few more things to cover, but soon we're going to be covering our Q&A. So we have our location workbook here. And let's say we want to put a link to the Silver Platter Lounge. We can do that firstly by just typing in a web address or a URL. I'm going to type in HTTPS for secure :// to Silver Platter Lounge dot biz. Press enter, nothing happens. It's just the text of the URL. It's just general. It's not a link. What if we want to make that into a clickable hyperlink? That's not hard to do. We're going to highlight and select our text. I'm going to hit copy or Control C, whichever you prefer. Next, I'm going to click back over on this cell. I'm going to go to Insert. I'm going to go to Link. It's kind of hidden in the middle here. It's these two concentric ovals. Click on that, and you can see text to display. It's going to be just the web address, and then the address is the destination of the link. I'm going to paste Silver Platter Lounge. You can also type it in manually. Hit OK, and wow, now it's a clickable link. If we want the text to display to be something different, then we can also do that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to type in, let's say, spaceship. Let's say Federation webpage is what I want the text to say, but I want the actual web address to be something else. I'm going to go back here again to we're on cell D3. I'm going to go to Insert and Link. So the text to display automatically went to Federation webpage. The web address is going to be one that I make up. It's going to be startrek.org. That might actually exist. I kind of want to check it now. And there we go. So if we hover over it, you can tell it just goes to startrek.org. And if we click it, it'll open up our browser and take us to the web page. That's how you create links. You can see that I have a couple of images in this workbook. Most people don't use images very often in Excel and don't even know that you can work with images, but you can, and it can enliven your workbook. So I want to insert an image of the USS Enterprise, of their dining room, the banquet hall that we can rent out. Thankfully, the Federation has sent me one. It is located in this folder. So how do we insert an image, which in this case is worth 3,000 words instead of just 1,000 words? As luck would have it, I have the image. What I'm going to do is I'm going to open it up. This might look a little different on your computer. Wow, this is a really nice dining room. I'm going to right click. I'm going to go to copy. Minimize that. I'm going to select the cell where I want to put the image, and then I'm going to paste. I can either paste by going to the very top left-hand side of the Home tab, or I can hold Control and press V on my keyboard. There we go. I've pasted the image. It is gigantic. The image is too big and not very convenient to look at, but Excel knows that this happens sometimes. So if we scroll over to the side and scroll down, I'm going to select this image, and we've got a little box here. I don't know if you can see that easily. There we go. This little box here, when I hover over, it says place in cell. I'm going to click on that. Whoa. Now it placed my image in the cell. In order to expand the size of this image, we just need to expand the size of the cell. We can do that by moving over to the left-hand side here. We see the double-sided, there's a double arrow, the Janus-like cursor. We're going to make it bigger, something similar to the other ones. And now it's almost the same size. But if we're very particular and we want our rows to be exactly the same size, we can find out what size they're, 192. We're going to select these three. Select one more. I'm going to shift and select them all. This one first, and then I'm going to press shift and go to number 4. Something's going on with Excel. Okay, I think I've selected them all. I'm going to right click. Something's going on here. I don't like it. Maybe I'll hit shift and hold down. There we go. I'm going to right click. I'm going to do row height, and I'm going to type in 192, and that'll adjust these 3 row heights to exactly the same size. Okay, one last, or two, actually 2 more things I want to show you. We need, first of all, to figure out how much the cost is going to be of this party for each location. Doing that takes mere moments. We have a category in this budget spreadsheet, cost and notes field. What we need to do is we need to we're going to use a formula. We're going to use the same kind of sum formula that we used before to calculate how much, actually, we don't even use, we just need to use we just need to multiply. Okay, so we need to multiply the number of guests by the cost per guest. On our guest list spreadsheet, we need to sort these so we know how many they're going to be. I'm going to go to sort A to Z. It'll expand the selection automatically. There we go. Maybe is not an option. Should be undecided. I'm surprised that didn't even let me put in maybe. I'm going to sort this one more time. Sort A to Z, expand. Okay. So we've got these people that are yeses. So what we're going to do is create a very quick formula to find out with the Silver Platter Lounge how much it's going to cost. We're going to do equals because when we create a formula, we start with the equal sign. Next, we're going to generate the sum. So we put the sum formula, we type in sum, open up the parenthesis. What are we going to add up? We're going to add up the amount of guests that have already said yes. So you can see it went to the different sheet, guest list. The sheet is guest list. The range is B11 to B18. I can close that up here, and we're going to multiply that. And to multiply, we use an asterisk. Type an asterisk in. We're going to go to locations. The cost of the Silver Platter Lounge is $120 per guest. And as you can see, it used locations sheet and cell C2. We're going to press enter, and we've got the amount right here. It's a little warning. Oh, it emits adjacent cell. That's fine. We're not worried about adjacent cells. So it's $1,800. We want to do that for each of our locations. We're going to do this very fast. Equals sum, this range, close that up. Got to make sure to close the parentheses, otherwise it'll keep adding everything. It'll actually just throw up an error. Multiply by locations, $26,000 per guest aboard the Enterprise. Wow. Press enter. This is too much. We need to expand the size. It's a very expensive party. Finally, last one, sum. Select all of these. I'm moving really fast now. That's because I'm doing the same thing. Asterisk for multiply, and then scroll down to $25. Now this is a more affordable party. Press enter, and there we go. Now, finally, the last thing I'm going to show you for today before we get to Q&A. How do we figure out the budget for each location? We can do that easily. Remember when I told you the tables allow you to filter by column? That's what we're going to do. We're going to hit this caret. We're going to remove both of the other locations, just leave one location. And that's how much it's going to cost for the party at Silver Platter Lounge. We select just the USS Enterprise, NX1. That's how much it's going to cost for that. Wouldn't we all like to be able to have that kind of money for a mere party? And that's how much it's going to cost for the Winnebago bowling alley. The entertainment is very expensive. All right. So that is how you create a table or multiple sheets in Excel to plan a party. You're now well on your way to planning a fantastic one. And additionally, you're on the path to Excel mastery. Now, let's do some Q&A. All right, let's see what we've got happening with the questions. Ah, this is a good question. This is a good one to start with. How do you do auto fit for columns? I just stopped sharing. I'm going to start sharing again because I'm going to be showing you how to do this. Auto fit for columns is really convenient when you want to either do one or have all of the columns easily fit. I'm going to make this too small. I make this too small. You can even change the size, the height. I'm going to make this way too small. All right, let's do auto fit for columns. I'm going to select the columns that I want to do auto fit for. Let's say I want to do it for the entire workbook or the spreadsheet. So the entire sheet, I selected all of them. I'm going to go to Format. I'm going to go to Auto Fit Column Width. What this is going to do is Excel is going to look at the entire column. It's going to determine which of the entries, and there's the longest, and it's going to make all of the entire column fit that size. And there it is. So Charlotte Rodriguez was the longest, and Undecided was the biggest, longest here, and so it made it fit. It gave us a little bit of a margin here, which is nice. Next, we're going to do the same thing for rows because we've got Charlotte Rodriguez, row 2 is too big. We're going to do auto fit row height, and beautiful. This is very convenient when you have a really big spreadsheet and you don't want to go through each individual row or column. I tried to move the column over, but it deleted it instead. So moving columns and rows is a bit of a task. I don't do it very often. It requires a lot of steps. It requires steps that have to be done all together. So first of all, we select it. Then we're going to hold Shift. And it's really important that your cursor has those arrows going in each and every direction. We click there, and now it disappeared, and now we move it. And so you know you've selected the column correctly when you've got this long line here. And now I'm going to move number of guests to the end, and you let go. I can't find the checkbox on my sheet. Any way to repeat the process? So the checkbox is located under Insert. Anytime you want to put in a strange character, a chart, a text box, you go to Insert, and the checkbox is right in the middle. It's possible that there are some versions of Excel that don't have the checkbox, but the one I'm using, which is Office 365, something or other, it does indeed have the checkbox. Oh, I see. Yeah, somebody mentioned that they don't have the checkbox. Yeah, it seems like that's maybe perhaps checkbox was an option that was added later. It's fine. If you don't have the checkbox, you can also just put yes or no and sort it that way. Or you can create a drop-down menu like I did here and have kind of your own selection of possible options. The key to create it using something like the checkbox is that it's just easy to sort. One other option is that there is a checkbox symbol, so you can insert symbols and you can have a little box here. I don't know if this box will let you be used as a checkbox, but we can try. So I've inserted it into this cell here. I'm going to just copy this checkbox symbol over. Let's put it here. Oh, that's not right. Oh, I see. Checkbox is it's a different font. I think it's Wendings or something, or Webdings. Nope, that's a ship. That's really neat. All right, look at that. I got a yacht. Anyhow, as long as you standardize your method of entry, it doesn't have to be a checkbox. Checkbox just looks nice.
Oleg,
Yes.
Luis
Yes, sir.
somebody asked, what's the reason to hide or unhide a column again?
Oh, yeah. So there's a very simple reason for that. It's so that it doesn't get in the way. It's purely aesthetic. The only function is if there's I should use the word function because that mixes vocabulary. The only utility or the use for hiding columns is that if a lot of people are using your spreadsheet or you tend to be clumsy with the mouse, you won't by accidentally delete this right here. This because if you delete something from this list, your RSVP columns won't, your drop-down menu will be ruined. So that's the main reason. If you have a lot of formulas, a lot of things happening under the surface of your workbooks or your sheets, etc., then hiding columns makes it convenient so you can put certain information in them and it'll just work in the background for you. It's sort of like you put the hood on your engine of your car. Let's see. So somebody mentioned when I add the check boxes to the new rows, I'm just copying and pasting them down, right? I could do that. So copying and pasting is one option. I can also use autofill. Autofill is actually, let me show you something else with autofill. Autofill can also detect patterns. Three, four. I'm going to select all of this and I'm going to do a little square. And as you can see, I autofilled the rest of this column or this range with the rest of the numbers. It can also detect other kind of patterns. I'm going to go up by two, just do odd numbers. I'm curious if it has prime numbers too. I've never tried that. And if we move this all the way, it'll do the same thing. It also works with the dates. So if I want to do today and I want to do next week, it will know to jump ahead by week. Autofill is a really useful feature. It saves you from manually entering a lot of information.
Oleg, I
What?
have another simple
Sure.
question.
Yeah.
Alphabetical order. How do you organize a column by alphabetically?
So it's similar to sorting the numbers. So you select the column, and we're going to do this by first name here. We select the entire column. We go to sort and filter and sort Z to A or sort A to Z. We're going to expand our selection, and there we go. There's more complicated ways to sort. So you can sort by multiple columns. So one first and then the other one by priority. But that's slightly beyond the scope of our class here. But I suggest anybody here just experiment. Go to custom sort and sort. So it gives us various sorting options. What happens if the column did not move with shift plus click? Then it's possible that your cursor wasn't it didn't switch to this one right here, the four arrows. It takes a little bit of practice to get used to moving columns around. I don't do it very often because it's so easy to mess it up. Let me do a few more questions. And if you still have questions, you can always feel free to email me, or I suggest searching Microsoft Support. Their webpage is really good. They have a lot of videos and it answers a lot of these frequently asked questions, particularly for beginner Excel issues. But we've got a few more questions. Let me see if I can get to a few more here.
There's one, somebody asked,
Yes, sir.
Oleg,
Hmm.
um, how do you create more tabs at the bottom, like in your guest list,
Ah,
locations, budget?
yes, I see. So how do you create new sheets? It's as easy as clicking the plus. And there we are. We've got a new sheet. You can change the name of the sheet by double clicking the tab here. I suggest you keep the names short and pretty simple. I usually put them in lowercase. That's just so if you want to refer to the sheet somewhere else manually, you don't have to type in a whole bunch of stuff. Also, I don't know if Excel is very, it You can use spaces, but I prefer not to use spaces either. So if I, that's why I put guest lists. So if I want to put like main dashboard or something, I'll put main either underscore or dashboard. This is a double dash like that. Julian, did you have any other questions that you wanted to sort of amplify, or shall I continue going through the Q&A?
We have a lot of questions about the differences between Google Sheets and Excel.
Hmm.
This presentation is only for Excel,
Hmm.
and for the majority, Google Sheets does use similar formulas,
The
but
formulas are
that's
almost identical for the basic stuff.
right. Yeah, but we can't really answer questions about Google Sheets at this time.
I
Yeah.
can't answer. Yeah, I'm not gonna because I can't show it to you. If I had it up and I would be showing it to you, then it would make sense. We do have a presentation on YouTube that talks about Excel and Sheets and some differences. However, for basic features like the ones I've shown you during this presentation, while Sheets doesn't have a ribbon like this, a lot of the functionality and even the steps are very similar. For instance, the font sizes and everything is exactly the same. Wrapping text is the same. The filtering and formatting is almost exactly similar. Autofill is exactly the same. So many of the features are identical for basic stuff. I use Google Sheets. I recommend it. It's really good software. It's easy to use. It's expanded really quite a lot over the years while still maintaining a certain simplicity that Excel maybe doesn't have for beginners. Excel is a very powerful piece of software that's been in development for decades and decades, and they've built on many features. It's so smart, Excel is. But for beginners, it can be a little bit overwhelming. In that sense, Sheets, I feel like, is a better start for spreadsheets. But this is a beginner course, so if this was up to your speed, then Excel is here for you. Other questions, William? Well, I can do this one. Are there templates that have bookkeeping? Yes, indeed. Yeah, you can find templates to download online. I believe Excel probably has some built-in templates. So for sure, you don't have to create your own spreadsheet.
I have another general question.
Mhm.
People keep asking about the different Excel versions. I'm assuming you're using the 2024 version. And does
Yes,
some of the older versions probably don't have some of the newer functions, right? That's the only difference mostly.
the basic functions are all that have been in there for, probably 20 years. I keep saying functions, the basic features. The functions also, there are some new functions that have been added, but for the beginner level, they're pretty much all the same. Sum, average, all of these have not changed at all for a really long time. Sometimes there will be differences in the ribbon. For instance, a few people mentioned that they don't have the checkbox, but for the most part, like pictures, shapes, the word art, the text boxes, pivot tables, which is an advanced feature that I highly recommend looking up. That kind of stuff has mostly stayed the same. The items in the home row, or I should say in the home tab of the ribbon, have probably mostly stayed the same. How can we get the dates to sort automatically oldest to newest as we add rows? So I don't believe there's a way that you can make it do it sort automatically. You have to manually do it. However, if you want to save some clicks, here's another shout out for an advanced feature. You can create macros or automate the sorting of a column. I'm not going to show you how to do that right now, but I would say if you go to LinkedIn Learning and look for Excel macros, it's not really that hard to do, but it's something that it can get pretty complex. But yeah, you can automate the sorting of it. You have to go to automate and click, sort rows in a certain way, and it'll just do it so you can save yourself 3 clicks or 5 clicks. All right, let me see here. How do we use accounting for debit and credit column only or all of the table? So in my spreadsheet, I use it for just the debit and credit columns. And you do that by just selecting the column that you're using it for and changing the number type, and then it'll just do that column. So Excel will usually be pretty good about recognizing the item or the number format or the information type that you have in each column. So it's not something that you have to necessarily worry about. Once you put a dollar sign in a column, it'll automatically skip to either currency or accounting. Is there a way to divide what you're spending and receiving money on? Health, food, fountain pens. Oh, fountain pens. That's quite a hobby. It's a great hobby. So there is not an automatic way to do that. You would have to do that. And you could create something like this, a drop down for it. You can automate it to a certain extent. So if you're inputting the same thing all the time, you can have it automatically populate a uh, certain cell for you with the same information. This is something that is a use case for including AI in spreadsheets. That's not something necessarily that Excel has at the moment in a very easy way, but yeah, it won't automatically categorize for you. But yeah, you can have it just create another column for the category, and then you can sort by categories. In my personal spreadsheet, I use Google Sheets for my budget and finances, and I have a column for categories. Let me see. Let's do like 2 or 3 questions, maybe. So I'll do some quick ones. Somebody asked, well, why did the RCB status maybe not get flagged? That's a great question. It really should have gotten flagged. I don't know why it didn't. It's possible because I maybe had it in there before when I had selected the whole thing. So for instance, if I put maybe here, Dave Davidson, that's a very repetitive name, and 3. So because I haven't selected this here, but if I select this entire thing and do the data validation and just do this whole thing over again. So selection already contains data validation. Yeah, let's extend it. So Excel's smart. It knows that we have a data validation on this whole row or this whole column here, but not this one. So let's just extend it. Yeah. So it extended it to source. We got a correct list. I've got my range selected here for the actual thing. And yes, so because I already had maybe input in here, it didn't override it with something. So that's why that one I had for maybe didn't get flagged. But if I try to press maybe and then enter here, it will get flagged. So I need to actually select a different one. I need to erase maybe. So yeah, so if you're overriding information that's already there, it won't automatically override with the new list. All right, let me go all the way to the bottom. Ooh, somebody mentioned H lookup and V lookup. I'm going to leave you to discover H lookup and V lookup on your own. H, H lookup and V lookup and X lookup now are functions that are very convenient for combining cells and automatically selecting information. Lookup functions are really nice. I'll do one more question. Julian, do you have a good one or should I select from the Q&A?
You can select one. I'm
Okay,
going through them as well. Mhm.
sounds good. Are you planning to have more classes in the future? Yes. If you have your email in our system, then you should be getting messages every Thursday with a newsletter that has our virtual events. If you're not getting that, call up your library and have them add your email to our system, and then you will find out about our future Microsoft Office workshops and other fun events. The library does all kinds of cool stuff. Somebody asked, does AI work better with Excel or Sheets? So Google has machine learning built into Google Sheets. It works decently well. I would say if you export a Google Sheet as an Excel file, then you can upload it, which is to say, put it from your computer into an AI chatbot, and it doesn't matter. They'll be able to read spreadsheet files. So it works just fine with Excel or Sheets, as long as it's exported in a file format. You can export as an open document, spreadsheet, or a CSV or comma separated values file, as long as it's not too complicated. I know I just lost a lot of people by saying CSV. That's a file format that's literally a text file with just commas to separate the different parts of a table. Okay, I think I'm going to call it for today. We answered a lot of questions, but it doesn't have to be all. If you've got more questions, feel free to email me, or I highly recommend watching our intermediate Microsoft Excel course, which is coming up very, very soon. Register for that, and we'll see you at that one. Savannah, do you want to come on and take us out?
Um, I I don't think I have anything to add after that. I went ahead and put the Microsoft for Excel intermediate users into the chat, the information, and then you can also find it online at LA County at our website under virtual events. But thank you for joining us today, and I hope you guys learned something.
We do have a post-event survey. Savannah, would you mind pasting the web address for the post-event survey into the chat? It's a very short survey, and we very much appreciate your responses to that. And once that's in there, there it is. Thank you very much. Props to Julian and Savannah for helping us with the Q&A here. I know they've been answering your questions throughout the entire session, and we've got quite a lot of questions today, which we all appreciate. Thank you all for being here, spending your time with us, learning about Microsoft Excel. I hope by now you are a little bit more excited about Excel, or a lot more excited about Excel than you were before. Come to the intermediate class. It's going to be very good, and we'll see you next time.